So Victus here, I wanted to show you all a pretty good game. This is an RTS. This is not a war game, but is historical. And I wanted to show on the channel what this is. If you don't know, this is called a 0 AD. This is a free open source game of ancient warfare, and it claims to have a lot of accuracy in terms of actual models and actual regions. It has a lot of interesting stuff that we're going to discuss right now in this video. So grab a cup of coffee, grab a tea, grab milk, grab water. Be my guest. Let's begin. So we have here, we're going to go first to the project overview. Here, this is the page of the actual game. I'm going to leave the link on the description. You can go and download the game and enjoy it. We're going to discuss at the end of the video the last patch. This is Eternal Alpha because it's pretty much, it's like a mod of Age of Empires. So we're going to read it right now, but at the end of the video I'm going to discuss the 26 alpha patch, something like that, that was released 3 months ago. I never played it, but the more I see and I learn about this game, the more I want to play it. So let's get on with it. Project overview. 0 AD, pronounced Z0AD, is a free open source historical real-time strategy currently under development by Wildfire Games, a global group of volunteer game developers. As the leader of an ancient civilization, you must gather the resources you need to rise a military force and dominate your enemies. Pretty much as I said, as Age of Empires. History is yours for the taking, and this is the actual reason I am presenting this on the channel. 0 AD is a time period that never actually existed because let's continue. In the usual calendar, one goes from 1 BC to 1 AD and skip 0. This reflects the historical fiction in the game. Who would have won if all the factions were pitted against each other when each of them was at its prime? And this is the actual premise of 0 AD. The fact that you have so many factions that, for example, are from different parts of the world that were not exactly connected in real history. In here you can, for example, send a Roman against a Chinese, actually. And we're going to talk about that because that's part of the new patch that the developer did. Now, there's something that I have to say here because we're going to go through screenshots here. It's going to be very nice. We're going to go to the area of download here, and we're going to go to features. Factions, there's a lot to say about factions. Perhaps I'm going to do another video about factions because it's worth to know what are the mechanics about the factions and what are the actual factions. We're going to see what factions we got, and don't forget the screenshots. So let's get on with it. So that's the reason, that's the actual fiction that you're going to get. The fact that you can pitch any faction in the ancient world against any other faction. So let's continue. We intend to portray some of the major civilizations over the millennium of 500 BC to 500 AD. So you can imagine the ancient kingdom of Egypt against the Byzantines, something like that, or against a medieval Dark Ages civilization. It's crazy, isn't it? So it's explaining that hence the midpoint 0. That is an ambitious prospect, so in the first edition of 0 AD, we focus on the last 5 centuries. Perhaps in the future expansion packs, more civilizations will be added along with additional gameplay features. Now, let me, a little bit of a spoiler here. We don't have medieval factions. Sad, but I hope that this is not going to be something that is going to restrain you in in trying this because we have ancient civilizations and there's Carthage in here, just to give you a little bit of a sneak peek. Okay, so let's go. We put a strong emphasis on historical accuracy. There you go. Strong emphasis on historical accuracy. Historical accuracy is the most important aspect of this game, and that's the reason it's in the channel. While developing 0AD, we plan all our units and all our buildings based on reconstructions on how the units and the buildings might have looked like in the ancient world. Now, I said that I'm going to show you the screenshots. You're going to see how beautiful this is. We even named them in the original languages such as Greek and Latin, but it's worth remembering that any game should be fun to play, so in many cases we prefer playability over historical accuracy. 0AD is free of charge. Guys, it's free of charge. You don't have to buy it. Just go right now. There you go. You download. It's yours. 0AD is completely downloadable at no cost and always will be. No freemium model, no in-game advertising, no catch, no DLCs. This is our ironclad guarantee. 0AD is free, as in freedom. 0AD is a freely licensed software because we believe everyone should have access to great games. I don't know if I have said this, but sometimes the free games are gems that perhaps you didn't expect they existed, and you will find a lot of gems in the free spectrum of the game industry. And that I'm saying mods are free and are different types of games from the actual vanilla, and they're pretty awesome. We already know that. So they say that all the people have to have access to great games and that everyone can learn and continue reading from developing them. You can redistribute and modify the game as long as you abide by the GPL, and you can even use parts of the art and sound for your own projects as long as you abide by the copyright. 0AD is still under development. Work on 0AD began in 2001, first as a mod concept of Age of Empires 2, The Age of Kings. In 2003, development moved to a standalone game with its own engine, Pyrogenesis. In 2009-2010, the game was released as free, open source software, and much of the code base was rewritten. You can learn more about the history here. And currently 0AD is still in alpha phase, which means an early experimental phase. It is the eternal alpha, as I said in the beginning. It is playable and you can already download and test the game, but some features are still missing. When will 0AD be released? It's very hard to predict. Even after we are done implementing all the features, we will want to conduct extensive beta testing, which can take a while. Information about the release dates will be released at the appropriate time. And as you can see, since 2001, the game's still alpha. Okay, let's go straight into download. And here I'm going to show you. There we are. I had to fix the size of my recording. So here we have download 0AD alpha 26. This is the patch that we're going to talk about at the end. And here we have the section in which you can click here and you will get a torrent file and get the actual exe for you to install. And it says here, attention, this is an early version of the game, so bugs such as lag when many units are moving or lag issues with very large maps may exist. However, the game is updated regularly to mitigate these concerns. So now let me go and show you what are the system requirements. So in terms of system requirements, as you can see over here, the game is very easy to run. Okay, now let's go to features. Here in features, we can go and see that it says here intense gameplay. So let's find out why this is an intense gameplay. Unique civilizations. In 0AD, each civilization is unique in its appearance and gameplay, including units, structures, and technology trees. You're going to see that when we check the screenshots. Citizen soldiers. Some infantry and cavalry units can not only fight, but also gather resources and construct buildings, making them substantially more versatile than in typical RTS games. Interesting note, combat experience matters. The more time your citizen soldiers spend fighting your enemies, the higher they go up in the ranks. With each rank, they become stronger, and they also get worse at civilian tasks. So it's like you're going to use your units to do civilian stuff or military stuff. Technology trade-offs. Some technologies are arranged in pairs, and within each pair you can only research one technology at most in each game. This choice is irreversible, so choose carefully. Unit formations. Arrange your units in historical battle formations. We're going to see as well this on the actual video. One historical formation. So you can arrange your units in historical battle formations from the phalanx to the testudo and gain bonuses such as increased armor. However, beware the cost that may come with them, such as lower speed. So you're going to sacrifice speed and you're going to boost the defenses. Something that we already know about games like this. For example, in Total War, you got the testudo as well with Romans. Realism and authenticity. Real-world map realism. Random maps are based upon real geography of the ancient world with realistic plants, animals, and terrain. Authentic historical details. This is something that I like. The realistic terrain. It's very beautiful. Authentic historical details. The sign of units, buildings, and technologies all reflect the hallmarks of each civilization. We even give them names in the original ancient Greek, Latin, Punic, and Celtic. Planet lifelike naval warfare. Ships will be on a much larger and more lifelike scale than seen in other games. I think that at this point the game has that. They will move more realistically and even be able to ram other ships. Pretty good, because this is like Total War in RTS. Make the game your own. Translation and local support, powerful map editor, and excellent modability. It's actually a mod, so that's the reason. Now let's check the factions pretty quickly here. So we're going to see that we have the first edition of 0AD will allow the players to control any of the 12 ancient civilizations from the pre-common era, and each culture will be represented at the peak of its civilization, somewhere along the timeline of 500 to the year 1. Now, before going to the actual, I'm going to go to the screenshots before I rather prefer to go to the screenshots so we can start seeing how beautiful this is. So here we have Egypt, and from this point we can see a lot of detail. You look at this pyramid, look at the actual boats, the actual ships and boats. We can see the Nile. We can see how this is very, very distinctive in terms of, you see this and you're going to see Egypt. It's very impressive how they are depicting this faction, and this is the first faction we're seeing, and you're not going to believe how beautiful are the other factions in terms of design. They are pretty much different from one another. The historical accuracy that they have is amazing. So I don't know if you ever played Children of the Nile. Children of the Nile is a game that is a city builder based on Egypt, and this reminds me a lot of that game. It's pretty similar because Children of the Nile is very accurate. Because of that, I say. You can see the troops here, very nice. Here we see the Brits. These are the Brits, so these are the Celts of the Isle of Britannia. Here we see the differentiation in between Egypt, and the actual terrain is different. The geographical area is completely different, and we see woods and stuff like that. It's very, very nice. That's the reason I'm telling you that this game is crazy. It's amazing. Look at this detail, and look at the Celts there. You see chariots as well. Let's continue here. We see the Kush. This is Kush city center. Horses that are accurate in terms of the time period. We see market stalls over here, and it's obviously this is south of Egypt, so it has resemblance, but it's completely different from Egypt. It's very nice, very, very good design in here. This is Babylon Paradise. We see the gardens over here. These are the famous gardens of this area of the Sumerians. We have cavalry here, elephants over here. We see this is another formation here with units with shields, and now we see a different type of terrain. Let's continue here. Here we see the Mediterranean waves. This is Carthage, we'll know that. So we see the Mediterranean waves here. Carthage boats, triremes, biremes. There we have Carthaginian town. Carthage looks very, very similar to the Carthage that we see on Rome. More likely Rome 1. So here we see Persian trade route. This is Persia. We see the differentiation in between the... we see a giraffe here. Look at this. A lot of chariots over here. Sparta. Here we see a Greek town, Greek city. It shows that there's differentiation as well. Look at this guy with serpents and stuff. These hoplites. Beautiful hoplites over here. This is Sparta. There are a lot of screenshots here. Mauryan. These are the people of India. Look at this. And here we have the symbol of the chakra of Ashoka. Look at this. Isn't it beautiful? Here we have favored sons of Carthage. We have different formations. We have here it's actually Hannibal Barca. Over here we have the symbol of Carthage over here. Very similar to Age of Empires. We see some screenshots here about destruction. This is a Roman city. Very Roman. We have the Arc of the Triumph here. Even though we have a lot of statues here that are a characteristic of the Romans. Here we see the Macedonian port with the actual symbol. Very, very Greek. We see a lot of ships in the port. We see whales. We see whales as well on... It's always important to have these details, I think. What else we have here? It's a random screenshot, so on and so forth. Nowadays, this is something that it's pretty obvious. Shipwrecks and little details. This one I like because we can see the blacksmiths, Persians, and for example, Carthaginians, which is something more similar. And here we have Hellenes and Romans. Even though they are similar, they are different actually in terms of the buildings. They have a lot of these differentiations. So there's a lot of maps here. We can see this is a Persian heavy infantry. So we see different types of units over here. Here we see Roman buildings, very Roman. So yeah, now I'm going to go to the factions. As I said, So the first faction that we're going to see, the Carthaginian Empire. We see the Celtic tribes, we have Britons and the people of Gallia. We have the Hellenic states, which are separated in between Athenians, Spartans, and Macedonians. We have the Iberian tribes, which is actually separated from the Celts. We have the Mauryan Empire, which is the Indian Mauryan Empire, the Achaemenid Persian Empire, of course. Roman Republic. Now take note, Roman Republic, because we're talking about before the empire. The Diadochi successor states, Macedonia, the Seleucids and the Ptolemies, which are pretty much Hellenes, but they make sure that they do a differentiation in between them. And I think that's it. Perhaps in a further video we can talk about these intricacies about each faction. So now that we know where to download what is the last version, we're going to check that exactly, the last version, which is the Alpha 26, the Chinese number that they have here. So let's go and check that. See you there in the video. Okay, so the developer of the game, Zero AD, 3 months ago launched this trailer. This trailer is the Alpha 26 Empire's Ascendant. So there is an update, an upgrade. There is a patch of the game, and this is the actual trailer of that patch. So let's go and see what is this all about. And as well, I have the understanding that the developer added the Chinese faction, so it is going to be quite interesting, the fact that we already know that there's quite a lot of factions, and then the addition of this one. So let's see what is this. So let's get on with it. Okay, so we see improvements in the graphics. That's the first thing I can see. It looks pretty nice. The graphics are not bad. It's pretty nice graphics. Look at this. The improved median oasis. What's a beautiful sight. Game looks amazing. This is perhaps for the Greek factions, the Corinthian Isthmus. Here we can see whales on the water. There you go. New Civ debut, the Han. So it's the Han. The actual civilization is the Han dynasty of the Chinese. And there you see a lot of cultural elements of the Chinese that are a characteristic of the game, that shows you on the buildings and the actual units the uniqueness of each faction. Pretty nice. Let me pause here. Minimap icons for civic centers and relics and wonders. Okay. New map. Xinjiang. It's a Chinese map. The Yellow River or something. New map Tarim Basin. The Tarim Basin, of course, because of the region. There's a lot of variety of maps here. It's incredible. And here we see formation banners. We see that the Testudo formation of the Roman, the actual banner over there. And something that caught my attention, look at this. The actual road is not flat. So there are fractured areas. It's a fractured terrain, and the actual units are going to move along with the shape of the road. Pretty good. Pretty handsome detail. So this is, I think, this is it. Yeah. So as you can see, 0 AD. It has a lot of variety, a lot of factions, very nice graphics indeed. And it says here, and yet that's not everything. All the information about the next alpha's changes can be found at the actual page. And we are still working on new exciting things. And as I said before, because this is an excellent game, and it's a free open source game of ancient warfare. So let me emphasize on the fact that this game is completely free. 0 AD is still a work in progress. So sometimes I think that free games have a lot of love. Okay, so with this I finish this talk with you about 0 AD. If you didn't know about 0 AD, now you know, and perhaps you can go and download the game. Very easily I can do a series about 0 AD. It is not a war game, but it's historical, and everything that has to do with history is something that is a treat for me. Especially this one. So this is it, and give a like, subscribe to the channel if you want to know more about wargaming, historical wargaming, especially, and historical games. This was Victus. See you in the next one.